And let's go to question 8. And once again, I'm using a prototype version where it says 6 out of 5, 7 out of 5. Obviously should not be out of 5 because there's more than 5 questions here. But let's go to question 8. So due to its positive side effects, therapists have used choir singing as an element for those dealing with depression and chronic pain. An element feels a little weird. An element of what? Let's see what the other options are. An accessory for those dealing with depression and chronic pain. An accessory, I imagine, more of a bit of a, it wouldn't be a process like a choir singing. It wouldn't be an activity. I wouldn't call it an activity, an accessory, or a piece. I mean, well, accessory doesn't feel right there. Let's see. Choir singing as a supplement for those dealing with depression and chronic pain. A supplement could be good because you wouldn't make this the primary treatment if someone has severe depression or chronic pain. You wouldn't just say, hey, why don't you go start in a choir, go start singing in a choir. There's other things that the therapist would probably do to help alleviate or deal with the depression and chronic pain, but it would be a supplement above and beyond what kind of the more traditional methods might be. This could be something to do on top of that. Now, an addendum, once again, this is like something that you add on to other things, and so it kind of is like a supplement. But I view an addendum to kind of a presentation at or to a kind of a position paper or something I add on to the back of something like that, like a proposal. I wouldn't use that word if I'm talking about kind of treatment or dealing with something. And that's kind of how I feel about accessory. Accessory is something that kind of adds on, but I think of an accessory as more of like a watch or a purse or something, not as much as an element to kind of go above and beyond the existing treatment. I like the word supplement here. But let's keep going. A study from an Arts and Health Research Center in Canterbury, England, followed the progress of patients diagnosed with depression for a year after they joined a choir. 60% of patients reported improved mental health at the end of the year, and some were no longer experiencing suffering from clinical depression. So experiencing suffering, and that sounds weird. I would say we're no longer suffering from clinical depression maybe, or no longer experiencing symptoms of clinical depression, but I wouldn't have experiencing and suffering there. I would get rid of one of them. But let's see what our options are. And some were no longer reporting that they were suffering from clinical depression. I mean, that reads well. And some were no longer reporting that they were suffering from clinical depression, but it still feels a little bit heavy. Reporting that they were suffering, is that necessarily? You could just say some were no longer suffering. Let's see this next one. And some were no longer suffering from clinical depression by the end of the year. Well, this one was tempting, but we already said at the end of the year, and then to say by the end of that year again, 60% of patients reported mental health at the end of that year, and some were no longer suffering clinical depression by the end of that year. You're saying by the end of that year twice. That's redundant. If it just said suffering from clinical depression, I actually wouldn't mind this choice. Let's see. I hope D works out well. 60% of patients reported improved mental health at the end of that year, and some were no longer clinically depressed. Yeah, that feels good. Nice and clean. Gets the point across. All right, so we've answered through 9, but we got to remember we skipped 5 because 5 is about, well, what's a good topic sentence for that entire paragraph? So everything they talked about up here, they're just talking about, hey, look, it makes people feel feelings of pleasure, and they even see it in the endorphins. You feel less stressed. The stress hormone decreases. You feel feeling of emotional bonding goes up. And then to give even more evidence, they say the researchers have even used it to help to deal with depression and chronic pain. So let's see, these choices, singing in a choir can help prevent depression. Well, that's the second half of the paragraph does talk about that, but that's not the whole paragraph. The whole paragraph isn't just about depression. They are using depression as an example of how singing in a choir can make you feel better. So I wouldn't say that this is a topic. If this was a topic sentence, I don't know whether I would go as heavily on all of this other stuff here. I'd probably just start right over here. Let's see. The brain tends to respond favorably to group singing. Yeah, I think this is good. The brain tends to respond favorably to group singing. Let's see how that reads. The brain tends to respond favorably to group singing. Singing stimulates the right temporal lobe of the brain and releases endorphins. Yeah, we go straight into talking about the brain. Endorphins blunt pain and engender feelings of pleasure. So we're talking about all these ways that the brain reacts. And even when we're talking about depression, we're talking about how it helps the brain deal with these things. So yeah, I like choice C there. So yeah, we've done all the way through question 9. So in the next video, we can do the last few questions. So we're now on question 10. And question 10, they just have a box here without any of the underlines. So they're not going to ask us to actually change something. They're probably going to ask us something more generally about the paragraph. And so let's see what they ask us. At this point, and so they're asking us something more general about the paragraph. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. So this would be a sentence that would go right at the beginning of this paragraph. Scientists do not yet know all the benefits of singing, but the communal process that singing in a choir provides has many positive side effects. Should the writer make this addition here? So let me finish reading this paragraph. But it doesn't seem an unreasonable thing. This is what this is the concluding paragraph. You kind of want to tie everything together. And so this is really what the passage is about. Scientists do not yet know all the benefits of singing, but the communal process that singing in a choir provides has many positive side effects. The second part, the communal process that singing in a choir provides has many positive side effects, seems to be what the passage is about. But let's see how they close out the paragraph. So if we went with this, so it has many positive side effects. From the changes in heartbeat and breathing that result in a healthier heart, to the reduction of cortisol and the production of endorphins that lower stress and increase happiness. So it does look like it's listing the many positive side effects. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. And then, well, this actually over here isn't a complete sentence. They're saying from the changes in heartbeat and breathing that result in a healthier heart to the reduction of cortisol and production of endorphins that lower stress and increase happiness. And then we go into question 11. There should be a comma here to kind of complete this. We're saying from this to that to this, and then we need to make our statement. So it should be a comma. Choir singing fulfills humans by letting them create art while being part of a group. So let's just go straight to question 11. Put that comma in there. Yeah, luckily there's a choice that has a choir here, that has a comma here, because it's really just completing. We're just starting over saying from this to that to that. Now let's make our statement. Comma. Let's make our statement. You need a complete. This just the from part right over here. This is not a complete sentence. So with that out of the way, that we want to put a comma here and not start a new sentence, let's go back to question 10. So let's see. So the choices are, yes, we could put this first thing because it reinforces the primary claim of the passage. Yeah, it doesn't seem crazy. Let's just read that again. Let's start with this. Scientists do not yet know all the benefits of singing, but the communal process that singing in a choir provides has many positive side effects. From the changes in heartbeat and breathing that result in a healthier heart, to the reduction of cortisol and production of endorphins that lower stress and increase happiness, comma, lowercase c, choir singing fulfills humans by letting them create art while being part of a group. Yeah, everything written here is actually going to be one sentence because we're going to put the comma here. And so to start with this, we don't know all the benefits, but it has many positive side effects. And then we list them all here. And then we say choir fulfills humans by letting them create art while being part of a group. Yeah, I like this. Let's see, yes, because it offers additional information that supports the claim of the passage. No, this doesn't give us any new information. It's just tying things together. So I wouldn't pick B. No, because it provides information unrelated to the passage. Well, first of all, it is related to the passage, but it's not providing new information. So choice C is definitely not the case. No, because it distracts from the focus of the previous paragraph. No, if anything, it's a nice tie-in from the previous paragraph, because the previous paragraphs were saying, hey, all of these clues we have about the different ways choir singing might help the brain. But these are just clues. We don't know exactly how the brain works. We don't know exactly the mechanism by which choir singing makes our brain do all of these positive things. So it's nice that they said that we don't know all of the answers yet, but it does have many positive side effects. And then we list those side effects, and then we kind of close it all up together. Yeah, so I feel good about A for question 10, and then B for 11, where we definitely don't want to, this thing right over here wasn't a complete sentence. And once again, I'm using a prototype version of this, so this is a little bit of a bug. It should say question 11 out of 11. Anyway, you get the point.